Welcome to XconMedia. We are currently in Atlanta, Georgia, where President Trump is about to turn himself in to 901 Rice Street. That is Atlanta Fulton County Jail. President Trump, along with 18 or 19 others, was indicted last week by a Fulton County grand jury, and one by one, each defendant has been coming in to turn themselves in, get fingerprinted, and make bond. So we are going to tap into a live stream. We appreciate if you like, comment, share it out, and let's get it going. All of us want to see President Trump come through and handle his business and see if he's going to talk to the crowd after he comes out. So we're just going to tap into a live feed um, and check it on out. So we are going to. Thanks for coming in. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I heard that. So much corruption. You right, my brother. So much corruption on every level. It's my opinion. I don't care. And they say some of the defendants are already turning state's evidence, are planning to try to work a deal with the DA against Trump. I don't care if the evidence is cut and dry. You're not going to get 12 people to say guilty. He's never going to do a day in jail unless he violates the terms and conditions of his bond. So we'll see. Otherwise, he'll never get convicted. There'll never be 12. I don't care how overwhelming the evidence is. There will never be 12 people say guilty. It's just not going to happen. So this is a big old corrupt dog and pony show. The state of Georgia, they like to play games when it comes to jury trials. That's why it was strategic for them to place all 19 defendants into one trial, because they're going to try to play each other against each other. They're going to use things like similar transactions. That's where they're going to try to use evidence from the other indictments in order to obtain a conviction against President Trump in this indictment. So the state of Georgia got a lot of tricks and tactics, man. It's a lot of games being played. It's a lot of corruption. But it is my prediction that no matter what the evidence is, he's not going to get found guilty. And it's quite strategical that it's going on during election time. All of the evidence, nothing has changed in the 2.5 years of investigation. Nothing else has changed. So why come with the quote unquote why try to indict and go to trial now? You see what I'm saying? Why go to trial now? Why you couldn't go to trial a year ago? Whatever evidence you got, it didn't change between 1 year ago and 2.5 years ago. It didn't change. So why do this now? Everything is strategic. There are no Republican states, jurisdictions, or none of that forcing indictments. This is all Democratic, because why? It's my prediction that they cannot rig the numbers to the election this time, because it's going to be closely watched. And if they're closely watching it, how can we get him? Well, let's throw up a trial in the middle of an election race. You understand? I'm gonna tell y'all something else. People outside of Atlanta don't know that YSL is a game. Young Thug. If you ever heard of Young Thug, YSL, the record label, you understand? They have been picking a jury in that case since January in Atlanta, Georgia. Since January, they've been picking a jury in that case. The case has not even started trial yet. They have understand what I'm saying. They have been picking a jury since January. Here it is, August, and they still don't have a jury seated in the YSL case. So, do you think for 1 second that the trial is going to be complete before the 2024 election, and they haven't even started the trial of of alleged gang member. Come on, man, it's a big dog and pony show. I just wish they get it out the way, because if hey, if Biden and Harris feel so good about the election, hey, let's just have a fair election and see what happens, man. May the best man win. So we're gonna tap into a live news feed where y'all can watch Atlanta Fulton County Jail in progress. So President Trump will be coming through that gate. What you're gonna see is different sets of police officers all day bringing people into the jail. But when President Trump come through, they're going to halt all traffic, and they are going to let him and the Secret Service through. They probably be in there about 30 minutes to an hour, and then they're gonna come out. Like Giuliani, Trump may try to talk to the press. Who knows? But we're gonna tap in, and we're gonna stay tapped in until the process is complete. So here we go. Share my screen. All righty. We tapping in. We going live.
So we're in the right spot. Thank you so much. Yeah, but I do not. Yeah, tell me when. Perfect, right there, right there. And for perfection. Thank you. That's not sporting. I had a feeling you were going to say that. I don't know. You look more respectable. You should go try. I don't know how respectable. Tracking. Hey, do we have an iPhone charger in this guy, perhaps?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, great. Are you aware like what he does this? Yeah. Right here. No, but not right here. You have it. Over there. You just came here like 15 minutes ago. Can you pull back? That's the full kit. That's giving everybody. Pull over to the right. Right. Yeah. Whether it's going with it, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you just go over like or back. Okay. The king of the world. All right. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. What, I, what I don't like what I don't like now is that round reflector, but it's fine. Stand by, everybody. Stand by. Good thought.
So we my editor said
I know. Finally, people care about me. Save me a slice, buddy. I'm working for you. Why did we lose power? CBS. You gotta stay behind the barricade. You're really good at tweeting, Marjorie. How's your tweet?
That's all she does. We're the January 6th, Nick. We need our Republican. No, I've only been back on Twitter for a few months, Nick. Meanwhile, Marjorie Taylor Greene's on her knees. She's on her knees blowing Kevin McCarthy. She's on her knees blowing Kevin McCarthy every single day. When is he going to endorse Donald Trump? When? I don't care. You know what's unbecoming? Selling out the American people to the Uniparty. That's unbecoming.
And so, do you think you'll have that?
No, Nick. We're going to have a rally.
She's not
Where was
elected. Why do you do it?
Where was she?
Marjorie, I have a question for you.
Hours in Georgia.
All I can tell people to do is call your
Well, you know, I introduced Article 8 coming on Joe Biden's first day in office. So it's not me. I'm not the holdup. It takes 218 Republicans in Congress to pass any bill. To pass anything in Congress, you have to have 218 votes. We only have 222 Republicans in Congress. And unfortunately, we don't have enough strong Republicans. But I'm hoping to see them get there on this because Joe Biden is now, it is proven that he lied to the American people. He lied to the American people about his business deals with his son. We had Devin Archer, Hunter Biden's former business partner, come in and say Joe Biden was on the phone with them over 20 times, met with business partners in person. We also have an FD 1023 form that came from the FBI's top informant. And the FBI paid this guy $200,000 for this information. The information that the informant brought said that Joe Biden took a $5 million bribe while he was vice president of the United States. He took that bribe in order to get the prosecutor from Ukraine, Viktor Shokin, fired. And guess what? Joe Biden is on video himself admitting that he was going to hold $1 billion in USA all in order to get that prosecutor fired. And then he bragged about it and he did get fired. So these are the crimes the American people deserve to know about, because no president, no politician in Washington should be able to enrich themselves on the American taxpayers' backs, abusing their power and making policy decisions and getting paid for it. And that's what the Biden family did. That's what Joe Biden has done while he is persecuting President Trump. And that's what we have to do. There's no way that Republicans can go forward in Washington without passing an impeachment inquiry.
To me, it sounds like a bunch of rhinos, Marjorie. It's just people who they ran on the Republican name and they're just not doing their jobs. The people voted for them to do a job and they're not working for the people, they're working for themselves.
That's right. And I encourage everyone to call all my colleagues and let them know.
I was in like an intro to
Call for
politics.
every office. Please let them know.
County jail.
goes all the way out. So he may actually, after he does what he needs to do.
Knows that his supporters are in. Because he tweeted yesterday, he tweeted this address. ايه بالعافيه ايه جارانتي 3 مرات شغال منطق هو هذا اللي يدور صار له مدور صار له سنتين ثلاثه مطلق هو قلت له انت جارانتي بيها 3 مرات شغال رهيب انا شفت انا النقطه بس هو شنو يا اخوي اذا اعطيه اياه فلوس What happened? What did they tell you? What did they tell you? He arrived already? He's still in the air? Sure. How long does it take? More than 2 hours. You find there.
Saying who you with? Reuters. Nice to meet you. Okay. Where? I don't want to get into trouble with this guy. He hasn't landed. No, well, he hasn't landed. No, pero pierden todo aquí.
He said he doesn't want it.
Trying nothing blocked there. Ah, there. No, that's what we want. We're doing the color. You know, hello, 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 hello. Ahora sí se escucha. So this one we're gonna do right here. Papá, we walk. Okay. When I do the pancake, it's gonna go to shop. You plan it not going to be Captain. Yeah, you know what?
I can hear you. Yeah. Yeah. Really? We're on 21. Hey. Sorry?
But they're going this.
No more.
Is this meeting past here or?
This is a full fee. Everybody's getting.
I'm sorry. Yeah, guys, this has been reserved for our outlets and everything. You can't just come in half an hour before.
Same when we were asked. The same. Part of the back.
Getting your weight stock, yeah.
I'm freelance. Stop, chat with anyone.
I was in the newspaper here for 18 years. Talked for photo editor, director of photography, and then I came back in 2020. Do this, some journalism.
Ryan? Bloodshot. Debate. Fingerprints will be done. So we'll have to wait and see. But 15 minutes is the duration.
I started in 98 till
Charlie Wilson, my mom.
I remember that. Yeah, I don't know if you ever had to shoot together.
No, I worked a lot with John. So yeah.
And let's see, back then it was
Thanks.
William Berry was doing a lot of features.
Yeah, Phil. Yeah, I was gonna say Phil. Yeah, I shot with Phil.
I was when I came in out there. Metro.
Bob Andres.
It's not us.
What are you doing now?
PR and shit.
He's on his way.
I came down naked. I don't have anything to give you.
That's fine. But
I figure that's the figure. I think I'm. All right. And I was like, then Bill Provey from AP came in and saw all this shit. Yeah, it was cool, man. I mean, to be right out of your book, it's going to be a cool experience.
Yeah, you too.
I think so.
Hey, you need a local color.
That's right.
Carlos. Vamos a empezar aquí, ¿no? Aquí.
Hola, ¿qué tal amigos? Desde el Mundo Hispánico les saluda Alfredo Suárez junto a Carlos Moreno, transmitiendo en vivo y en directo cuando son exactamente las 7:19 desde la cárcel del condado de Fulton en la ciudad de Atlanta, a espera de la llegada del presidente Trump a esta cárcel.
Alfredo, ya tenemos información de que el expresidente Donald Trump ha arribado acá al estado de Georgia y ya viene en su camino a punto para poder entregarse a la justicia. Ha sido una jornada bastante larga acá, medios de comunicación de todas partes, pero también, como pueden ver en las pantallas, están apuntados a los alrededores de esta cárcel personas que están a favor y en contra del expresidente y líder republicano. Quienes lo apoyan han venido acá para mostrarle que están con él. Entrevistamos a algunas de estas personas quienes dicen que están con el expresidente Trump porque creen que es la persona correcta, creen incluso que esto es una persecución política en su contra para que él no pueda llegar a la presidencia. Pero también hemos hablado con quienes están en contra del presidente, que es lo que nos han dicho.
Sí, opiniones de verdad diversas y encontradas entre los que apoyan al presidente Trump y los que están en contra del mismo. Uno de los argumentos, como mencionaba Carlos, que las personas que apoyan al presidente
Yes. Here, it's coming up. Guys, what are these coming up? To your left over here, you can see the line of sheriff deputies as well as the roads that are blocked here on Jefferson Street. This is right in front of the entrance where we just saw the motorcade coming in. Now, this area has been locked down for at least the last couple of hours. On the other side of the jail, there are about 150 or so Trump supporters in protest out here rallying all day. And if you actually turn these down, you can see the even have walking away. Both part of the security, obviously, at unprecedented event by the former president that is now currently being booked inside of that jail. As you can see, tons of press that have been barricaded out here on Jefferson Street. From what we understand, what's happening right now inside, Kathy, we showed the jail. We can only show you from where we are right now, but Patrick LeBron, who is the sheriff here, says that they're going to go through normal protocol as any criminal defendant. We'll see if that ends up happening in negotiations with the Secret Service, but normal protocol means you'll have to go through the magnetometer to be fingerprinted after he surrenders, and then also, yes, we anticipate take a mugshot. And we know that that mugshot will be made available fairly quickly because they've done this before. 11 of the last, 11 of the 18 co-defendants of the former president have turned themselves in, and their mugshots have been released, including former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, who just turned himself in today and was released on $20,000 bond. That mugshot will be made available to the public for everyone to see. It even includes the wig of the defendant. So that'll give you an idea as to how much information we'll get. Obviously, it's the first time that the former president has gone through something like this, a criminal case. But this is the first time that he's had to, go in and look like this and have a mugshot taken. It'll be the first time. You'll also have to pay a bond to be released. You'll have to pay a $200,000 bond to be released from that Fulton County jail. I think also, Laura, I want people to understand is that we're looking at this jail right now. This is not a normal jail. This is an important jail that is under DOJ investigation.
RICO charge is very expansive in this case. It's a very complicated case. One strong aspect is the sort of factual background in this case is pretty well known. There's not a lot of serious unknowns in the indictments, and I think Fani Willis, for the most part, knows what those witnesses are going to say when they get to trial, and that makes the path for preparation a lot easier.
Now, lawyers are always taught to think of a case from all angles. I know you spent the majority of your career prosecuting cases, but if you shifted gears and we're looking at this from a defense perspective, what do you think a defense attorney, what threads would they likely be pulling as we move forward into this case, presumably, at least for some defendants, eventually towards a trial?
Yeah, I think a few different things. One is the sort of procedural complexity that's involved in dealing with this kind of case. So if there are severances, so if there are different trials for different defendants, that can become more complicated for the prosecutor. And then I think the real issue is many of the charges requires the prosecutors to demonstrate that Trump or other defendants knew that they were making false statements when they were acting for some of those charges. And it's always difficult to prove the state of mind of individual people.
Now, we are watching right now on the monitors here former President Trump's motorcade, presumably making its way back to Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. This is the biggest flashpoint of the legal challenges the former president faces, and that flashpoint happening right here in Atlanta. But it's not the only case that the former president faces. He's got two federal cases, one out of Florida, one out of D.C., the D.C. case being an election interference case in its own right, and another state case in New York. You were a federal prosecutor. You're familiar with challenging cases. What kind of wrinkles are just logistically these multiple cases going to pose for all of the attorneys and all of the witnesses involved here, and for that matter, the defendants?
Enormous challenges. I'll start with the prosecutors. Anytime you have overlapping cases like these, there's a lot of overlap between the Georgia case and the federal January 6th case. Anytime you have witnesses who are going to testify multiple times, that becomes difficult. Obviously, prosecutors aren't going to know exactly when things are going to happen. They've got to be well prepared. I think in these cases, you have a bunch of folks who are very well versed, who have been investigating these cases for a very long time, and they're ready to go.
How do prosecutors, and for that matter, probably judges, to decide which case actually goes first? On social media, which is always a thing we're wary of bringing too far into the conversation, but folks have talked about it, almost feels like there's a line forming between these multiple cases, and different district attorneys, different prosecutors are trying to find their position in this queue of who actually takes the former president to trial first, and if there will be a trial before the 2024 presidential election.
Yeah, all good questions that are hard to predict. I think the judges are probably pretty mindful of cases that are going on in other jurisdictions. Some things are outside of their control. So Kenneth Chesebro filed a motion asserting his speedy trial right here in Georgia. And I think when that sort of thing happens, that pushes a case usually to the front of the line because defendants have specific rights to go to trial, and those are usually respected as best as possible.
Now, in this case, former President Trump's bond was set, what's known as a consent bond. It was agreed upon between the district attorney's office and his defense.
Images mile by mile as the former president, after being just arraigned on these charges, is heading back to his airplane. Gabe, I want to ask you, as we've seen the mugshots, and Hallie, I mean, every time we saw the mugshot of Mark Meadows, Rudy Giuliani, it's stunning to see these people who were public servants, and then to see these criminal mugshots. Look at this here. Gabe, my question to you is, how quick was the turnaround time from the moment those mugshots were taken, do we know, till the time that we actually saw them posted and released publicly? The sheriff has just confirmed to our Blaine Alexander that indeed a mugshot was taken of former President Trump. I'm just curious to know when we actually think we're going to see it.
You know, Tom, again, it's all speculation at this point, but informed speculation. We can tell you that the mugshots that you just put up there on the screen, we would get them after, you know, a co-defendant was booked, potentially within a few hours, you know, 2 hours or so. Mark Meadows, we were waiting this afternoon when he was first put on the website the information about him being booked. It wasn't a very long time before that mugshot came out. I can tell you earlier there was some consideration that we might, you know, have to wait until the following business day to get that mugshot. That hasn't happened here. The local authorities have been very good and transparent about releasing those mugshots on a timely basis. So if that tracks, and we do have confirmation from a source with the Trump campaign, but also, as I I understand that our colleague reporting from an official source here that a mugshot was taken. It's possible we could see it, within the next few minutes or perhaps the next few hours. I was speaking with several of the Trump supporters here who are waiting for that mugshot, and certainly this is something that the Trump campaign likely plans to use in order to raise money. And this iconic shot, as you said, Tom, and for all the worst reasons.
It is an extraordinary optic here, the way that the former president, Tom, has both been treated like any other criminal defendant in a criminal case and the way that he has been treated as an exceptional defendant in this case. Look at the speed by which this processing happened. I don't know that either one of us thought we'd be sitting here at this point watching him head back to New Jersey already at 8:08 Eastern time here, much less that he'd have had his mugshot taken. That had been a question mark all day. Would we see this or not? The way that this image is going to be used. I want to bring in Chuck Todd as we stay in these live pictures here. I want to ask our control room to keep these up. And Chuck, this is something that you will see likely from both Democrats and Republicans for the next year and a half of this political campaign.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's done Trump has done an amazing job convincing his supporters that these moments are badges of honor, right? He has wrapped himself in this martyrdom, victimhood, and it's quite remarkable in some ways what he's pulled off here. It still feels as if, there's still a long way to go. He's made it through the arraignment portion of this, but when we start to get information, when discovery starts to come out, and who knows, maybe he survives that too, but this is going to, there's going to be every day, every week, there's going to be a reminder. Maybe there'll be a motion by somebody to sever ties. Maybe somebody decides to start cooperating. And it won't even necessarily be in this case, could be another case. And you just start to wonder, when is this fatigue with Republicans going to set in? You see it is, the candidates are fatigued from this. We know behind the scenes, there's not a lot of faith that somehow Trump can win a general election with all of this hanging over his head. But I know Trump survives more than stuff that nobody else can survive. But at some point, the straw will break his back, too. And I look at all this. I watch what happened last night. You put all this together and you just got to ask yourself, can he really withstand more of this? We haven't even started with the actual details of what's going to come out in some of these trials.
That's right, Chuck.
And we haven't, what's going to happen then?
Yeah.
What's the feeling going to be like?
We've got a lot of political road ahead of us here, but we're also finding out now from our Blaine Alexander that there has been now a response to a bomb threat at the Fulton County Courthouse, according to the sheriff, with K-9 units, police en route. I want to get back to our Gabe Gutierrez, who is live for us in Atlanta. Gabe, just to remind people, and Tom, you know this, the Fulton County Courthouse is not where Donald Trump has been. He has been at the Fulton County Jail. That is a different and separate location. And yet, Gabe, one of the things we've been talking about in the lead up to this surrender by the former president has been the way that police and the security apparatus in that city has been on edge and bracing for whatever may come.
Hi there, Hallie. I'm not sure if that was to me. It's a little tough to hear here, but I can tell you, yes, I'm looking at the same note you are. And this, the Fulton County Courthouse, as I mentioned, about a 15, 20-minute drive or so from where I'm standing. And according to my colleague, Blaine Alexander, yes, the Fulton County Sheriff's Office responded to a bomb threat at the courthouse. The sheriff says that there was a K-9 unit and local police en route. One of our producers also there on the scene says that there is a K-9 unit as well. Look, Hallie, this is something that certainly local authorities have been very careful. Just a few hours here, another member of our team saw a bomb squad unit go into the Fulton County Jail that is behind me. Not surprising that local authorities will be prepared at several of these major locations to make sure and be very vigilant in case any of these threats were to come in. At this indication, at this time, we don't have any indication that this is, the seriousness of this bomb threat, or if there's anything to it. They're just going to check it out at this point. But again, that breaking news is that yes, there is investigation of a possible bomb threat over at the Fulton County Courthouse. Again, not the location where the former president came to surrender just a few moments ago.
Gabe, stand by for us. We have more breaking news. The president now arriving to his private jet there at the Atlanta Hartsfield Airport, about to board his plane and take off from Atlanta after being charged with all of those crimes, again, being accused of interfering in the 2020 election. This is fourth indictment so far, if you're keeping count here, along with 18 other co-defendants. They have until tomorrow, because some people still in this case have not turned themselves in. The big piece of news that we've gotten over the last several minutes, besides this bomb threat at the courthouse, of course, we've now confirmed that there is a mugshot of the former president that was taken at the Fulton County jail. At some point, maybe possibly in the next couple of hours, we will see that mugshot. We don't know exactly when. We know now that the press, as we're seeing on the right, is assembling now as the president's going to get out. Secret Service on hand there, Fulton County Sheriff's deputies. There was a massive motorcade. The streets of Atlanta were closed down. And this is pretty incredible, Hallie, that he's did this entire process in less than an hour.
I don't think that was the expectation for anybody walking into this thing, how quickly this would go. Just to pull back the curtain here so people know what they're looking at. When the former president travels, there is a pool of reporters that goes with him, because he is, of course, the former commander-in-chief, and there is a high level of interest.
All right, if you just not tapping in, this was live footage of Donald Trump coming to Atlanta, Georgia to turn himself in for fingerprinting, processing, and all that stuff. And he has been released on his own reconnaissance. He is now returning to the airport, where he may or may not speak. So we just gonna tap in, check it out, see what's going on, and give our thought on it.
Against him.
And just reading the tea leaves here and just looking at the images, it doesn't sound or look like the plane has been turned on. That would lead you to believe, and you have the lights up there as well, which is actually kind of interesting too on an active runway, those lights that have been set up there. You wonder if they've set up for some kind of comments here. Again, we don't know. We're just having both covered former President Trump.
So you've been there. You know what this is like, Tom.
Yeah, he's willing to do something. And it's impossible to get sound on a tarmac when the plane is turned on. You just can never hear anybody. Sometimes politicians use that to their advantage. Here it looks like it's not turned on, and it looks like they could possibly be waiting for something. I'd also got to say, Hallie, they set up the pool that way. I guess to get a shot too. We shouldn't get too ahead of ourselves. They could just be setting up for the shot outside the car.
Listen,
but why would he get out that way?
Well, he's got to get on the plane, right?
Yeah.
He's got to get on. He's going to fly back to Bedminster. So we know that we will see him here in an evening as we now round the corner past 8:15 Eastern time, when we have seen extraordinary optics before, right? I mean, this is a moment for the former president, one that is making history here. We know that he has just hours ago switched up his attorneys. He now has a new lead attorney as the president appears to be walking over to the members of the media who have been assembled. We are obviously going to listen in. Let's take it.
Really believe this is a very sad day for America. This should never happen. If you challenge an election, you should be able to challenge an election. I thought the election was a rigged election, a stolen election, and I should have every right to do that. As you know, you have many people that you've been watching over the years do the same thing, whether it's Hillary Clinton or Stacey Abrams or many others. When you have that great freedom to challenge, you have to be able to, otherwise you can have very dishonest elections. What has taken place here is a travesty of justice. We did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. And everybody knows it. I've never had such support. And that goes with the other ones, too. What they're doing is election interference. They're trying to interfere with an election. There's never been anything like it in our country before. This is their way of campaigning. And this is one instance, but you have three other instances. It's election interference. So I want to thank you for being here. We did nothing wrong at all. And we have every right, every single right, to challenge an election that we think is dishonest, that we think it's very dishonest. So thank you all very much, and I'll see you very soon. Thank you very much.
Just to listen to former President Trump wrap up his first comments since he was fingerprinted, since his mugshot was taken. since he was told what he's been charged with, and he's heading back to his private plane now, basically saying that, you know, he had every right to do what he did, that you can challenge an election, that this was a sad day for America. It was a travesty of justice. But notably, Hallie, he didn't attack anyone. He's been sort of banned, especially on social media, of attacking and I think speaking about his co-defendants.
It's a condition of his bond.
A condition of his bond. But, you know, we have Catherine Christian here, who's a former prosecutor. And Catherine, I got to ask you, you know, he says every American has a right to challenge the election. We know that Al Gore challenged the election as well. What did former president do wrong in the indictment, according to the indictment? So our viewers understand why what he said there is not exactly 100% correct.
Well, it's completely not 100% correct because he has not been indicted for his free speech, his right to challenge the election. The way they challenged the election was unlawful. They created false electors who pretended to be Trump's electors when they were really Biden, or they weren't even Biden. They just came out of thin air. They were Trump's electors. They created false fraudulent certifications for the electors. That's forgery. The fake electors in this charge is impersonating a public official. They intimidated and harassed and threatened election workers. Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, mother-daughter election workers, 2 Black women in the South. They were threatened. There's a trio of defendants who were part of this RICO indictment. Kanye West, former publicist, the director of Black Voices for Trump, a pastor.
Calling the Secretary of State.
Yes. Mm-hmm. They went and intimidated her. You know, Mr. Trump, when he did that perfect call to the Secretary of State, he defamed both of them. He called them professional vote scammers, you know, political operatives.
We're going to stop it right there. So tell me what you think. Again, Donald Trump was ordered to report to Atlanta, Georgia, to turn himself in for fingerprinting and picture taking, and released on his own reconnaissance, which is like I said before, it's a super big old dog and pony show, because he's never going to do any time. He's not going to get convicted. Now, he may violate the terms and conditions of his probation by way of witness tampering, intimidating witnesses, his social media platform, True Social, which technically they can't prove that he's actually the one. I mean, they can prove it, but they can't, because he can third party some stuff that somebody else is posting. He might have a person posted for him, you know, so we don't know. But all I know is, as long as he does not violate the terms and the conditions of his bond, he's not going to do a day in prison. You're not going to find 12 people to say guilty. It's just not going to happen. This is a dog and pony show. They're trying to get him out the way of the 2024 election, because obviously he'd probably barely be living in 2028. You know what I'm saying? He probably be on his last leg. He'll be damn near 90 in 2028. So we know that he would not be able to run for re-election in 2028. So he got to get it in 2024. And to me, that's where all these indictments is coming from. These indictments could have been secured a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. You know, the evidence is the same evidence as it was 2 years ago. Why do this now? That's my big thing. Why now? So appreciate you tapping in to XconMedia. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. I want to hear what everybody got to say. And I appreciate y'all. Tap in again.